This is the God that you should be following. This is the Jesus you should be submitting your life to. Listen to John's description of him. It says, then, starting in verse 12, then I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me. And on turning, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And in the midst of the lampstands, one like a son of man, clothed with a long robe and with a golden sash around his chest. His hairs of his head were white, like white wool, like snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze, refined in a furnace. And his voice was like the roar of many waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars. From his mouth came a sharp 2-edged sword, and his face was like the sun shining in full strength. This is John. Listen to this. He says, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. But he laid his right hand on me, saying, fear not. I am the first and the last and the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades. That's the Jesus of the Bible. That's the Jesus that today you're going to have to choose whether you're going to follow him or not. The dignified, glowing, radiant, supreme God of the universe. See, this is Jesus' best friend who wrote this, guys. His best friend, John the Beloved, who couldn't stand to even look at him in his majesty. He fell dead at his feet, he says. In the beginning of the sermon today, I asked how we got to Resurrection Sunday. And quite simply, the answer is that we got here because these people had a false idea of who Jesus was and a false idea of who they were. That's how we got to where we are today. So let's learn from them. Let us reflect on our guilt of this in our own lives because of our lacking of a sense of urgency to know the real Jesus and allowing the world and our own desires to create a false God that many of us have been worshiping unknowingly. And let us remember that ultimately what happened to Jesus on the cross was because of his love. It was his love that allowed it. You see, so while they had false ideas of themselves and who Jesus was, ultimately he could have saved himself, but he had himself nailed to a cross for you. For each one of you in this room today, to save you from the punishment of your sin and offer you a life everlasting with himself. Free of sin, free of sorrow, free of shame, free of guilt, free of pain. So today, while this might be April Fool's Day, I want you guys to know that the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus is not a joke.